So what happens when one of Wall Street's biggest players makes a quiet, nine-figure bet on crypto? Today, we're going to dig into a huge move by Morgan Stanley that involves a massive crypto position and a tiny, pretty obscure company. We need to figure out if this is just business as usual or if it's the starting gun for the next big institutional bull run. Let's get right into it. So our first clue is this number right here, 9.6 million. That's how many shares of a little-known instrument called BMNR that Morgan Stanley apparently just scooped up. Now, for a company this size, that is a serious stake. But this is where the story starts to get really, really interesting. Because, get this, the very same filings reveal an even bigger number, a jaw-dropping $315 million position that's linked to Ethereum. Look, when a giant like Morgan Stanley makes a move this big, it's not just noise, it's a signal, and we're about to figure out exactly what it means. Okay, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the bet itself. Then we'll decode the official filings. After that, we'll try to piece together this BMNR and Ethereum puzzle, map out the potential ripple effect on the market, and then finish up with a playbook for you, the investor. So let's start with the big picture here. This isn't just another routine purchase for a bank of this size. No way. When a name like Morgan Stanley makes a move this big, it's them planting a flag. It's a calculated bet on where they think an entire sector is heading. So the real question is, what does this all mean for you, the average investor? Because the temptation is to just see this news and immediately try to copy the trade. But trust me, that's a huge mistake. First, we have to understand why they bought it, what this position really is inside their massive portfolio, and how it could totally shake up the market. All right, let's get our hands dirty and look at the hard evidence. We're going to dig right into those institutional filings to see what they actually tell us and, maybe more importantly, what they're not telling us. Okay, so here are the core facts, straight from the filings. First, that 9.6 million share increase in BMNR, which looks like a smaller, publicly traded asset that's tied to the crypto world somehow. Second, that $315 million of exposure to Ethereum. Now, this could mean a few things. They could be buying crypto ETFs, they could be holding the actual coins in a digital vault, which is known as custody, or they could be using these complex financial products called derivatives. Now, here's the catch you absolutely have to know about these filings. They're basically like looking in a rearview mirror. The report we're seeing today could be based on a decision made months ago. Plus, they often lump a bunch of different investment strategies together, which means we have to be super careful not to jump to the wrong conclusion. And this brings us to a really critical question. Is Morgan Stanley making a simple, straightforward bet that the price is going to go up? Or is this part of a much more complex hedge? It's like betting on two different horses in the same race just to make sure you don't lose money. One move suggests real conviction, the other is just careful risk management. And the answer totally changes the story here. Okay, so this brings us to the absolute core of the puzzle. Why BMNR, this kind of obscure microcap, and why Ethereum, a crypto behemoth? Let's try to piece this together, and we'll start with the mystery asset. I mean, the first question on everyone's mind is probably this. What on earth is BMNR? It's not exactly a household name, right? So why would a Wall Street giant be so interested in it? From what we can piece together, BMNR seems to be a small company or a token that provides some kind of picks and shovels for the blockchain world. They're not mining for gold, they're selling the tools to all the miners. The fact that it's a bit hard to pin down is actually a clue in itself. It suggests this is a very early stage or a highly specialized play. This move actually fits a classic institutional playbook for finding those hidden gems. The big players are always hunting for these smaller companies that are either 1, deeply undervalued, 2, have massive partnership potential, or 3, offer a direct pipeline into a booming niche sector. BMR probably checks at least one of those boxes for Morgan Stanley. So this 9.6 million share purchase is anything but random. It is a tactical maneuver. They could be quietly building up a position to secure some massive future upside. Or maybe they're just building up a required weighting for a new fund or product they're planning to offer their clients down the road. All right, now for the Ethereum part of the puzzle. How does a bank even get $315 million of exposure? Well, there are basically 3 main ways. 1, they can just buy the actual Ether coins directly. 2, they can buy shares in an Ethereum ETF. Or 3, they can use these private financial contracts called derivatives that just track the price of Ethereum without them ever having to own it. Each one of these paths sends a totally different signal to the market. A move this big, it's like dropping a boulder into a quiet pond. It's going to create ripples. So let's game this out a little bit. What could happen next across the entire market? What we could see is a classic domino effect. It often starts like this. Step 1, a huge institution like Morgan Stanley starts buying. Step 2, this acts like a green light for other big players, which adds a ton of legitimacy. Step 3, the news hits the mainstream, and that retail FOMO, the fear of missing out, starts to kick in. And finally, step 4. All of that new demand can lead to a major price move. So, if you're watching this space, here are the signals you really want to look for. Keep a close eye on the trading volume for both BMNR and Ethereum. Any unusual spikes are a huge clue. Watch to see if other banks start filing similar positions. Look out for any news about partnerships or new products. And, of course, watch the charts to see how the price reacts at those important technical levels. And that brings us to our final section. And honestly, it might be the most important one, your investor playbook. How can you, a retail investor, navigate this whole situation safely and intelligently? Okay, let me be absolutely crystal clear about this, because it's the most important takeaway here. An institutional buy is not a signal for you to blindly buy. Their reasons, their risk tolerance, their timeline, it's all completely different from yours. You have to manage your own risk, period. So what does smart risk management actually look like? It boils down to 3 core ideas. First, position sizing. Only invest an amount that you're truly prepared to lose. Second, have an exit plan before you even get in, using a tool like a stop loss to automatically sell if the price drops. And third, just be patient. Don't jump in with both feet. Wait for the trend to prove itself. Now, again, this is not financial advice, but just to paint a picture, let's explore 2 hypothetical strategies. For a really speculative asset like BMNR, a common approach is to take a small scout position, and then you only add to it if the company really proves its case with good news or fundamentals. For a major asset like Ethereum, an investor with long-term belief might use dollar cost averaging, just buying a little bit regularly through an ETF to smooth out all the price swings. So, what's the bottom line here? The move by Morgan Stanley is a really powerful signal that institutional appetite for crypto-linked assets is growing, and that's a very bullish sign for the long-term health of the market. But it also brings a ton of short-term risk and volatility. Which leaves us with the big question. When you see a Wall Street giant like this stepping into the crypto ring, do you see it as a clear green light for the future? Or do you see it as a flashing warning sign that the ride is about to get a whole lot bumpier? Let me know what you think. Thanks for tuning in.